hosted by the Orange Band Initiative, which is a student group here on campus, as well as this is COM 29. Thank you. Which is a class about digital media. You can see tonight we're going to be debating this resolution, resolve that digital media are net beneficial for society. I wanted to just say a little something about why we're debating before I introduce the speakers and get started. I think there's two main reasons why I believe debate is a valuable activity. The first is just the educational value of it. I think you'll see from this debate that these are the students who were the most successful in our in-class debates, and everyone in the class has been reading about digital media, both the pros and the cons, thinking about them, expressing themselves about these issues. And there have been just study after study that have proven that debating issues really helps people learn them, because it helps people kind of figure out both sides of an issue. It motivates people to do research and really think deeply about issues. So that's one reason. And that educational benefit goes back to even ancient Greeks, used to do debates as a way to improve education. And the second is, we live in a democracy, and in democracy, it's kind of our responsibility as citizens to be informed about the issues around us, as well as to express ourselves and to learn to, make our concerns known and try to persuade other people to our position. And debate is, certainly training in those activities as well. So you're going to experience a public debate tonight. It'll be about 40 minutes, I think, for the debate in total. The first couple of speeches on each side are what are called constructive speeches. Those speeches will feature the major arguments that each side is going to advance. And then the last three speeches on each side are what are called rebuttals, where they're going to be doing kind of answering and responding to the arguments that the other side advance. At the end of the debate, we'll have about 5 minutes to let the judges, we have three esteemed judges over here who I'll introduce in just a second. We'll let them get their thoughts together. And during that 5-minute period, if you have a comment or a question for the debaters, I'm gonna open it up to the floor so that you can voice yourself as well, ask questions, make a comment, that kind of thing. And then at the end of that, the judges will tell you how they decided and give you a little bit of a reason for why they decided. So to introduce our judges, first of all, we have the debate coach here at the University of Cincinnati, Wendy Larcher.
I'm looking to recruit them all for our next 15.
All right, yeah. Second, we have a person who teaches the debate class in our department, Chris Gallion. An esteemed alum of the UC Communication Department, and who I've been told that you do some work in social media and stuff, right?
Digital media strategy.
Digital media strategy. Yeah, so she's an expert. Allison Mallory. If you like what you see here, this is again COM 29, teaching in the fall. I'm Dr. Eric Jenkins. You can sign up for my class, and maybe you too could be doing this public debate. This might seem like torture to you, but actually these students, the reward for doing this public debate and being the top teams was they don't have to write the final paper. So they have to do one extra debate, but they get that bonus. So I'm going to introduce the debaters for us. The first affirmative constructive is Katie Morton. And then our first negative constructive, Kelsey Whitmore. Second affirmative constructive, Zach Romer. Second negative constructive, Sam Grieve. First affirmative rebuttalist, Chris Wallace. First negative rebuttalist, Brittany Cooper. Second affirmative rebuttalist, Pete Gronkemeyer. Second negative rebuttalist, Abe Tucker. And concluding it for us, third affirmative rebuttalist, Patricia Wessel. And third negative rebuttalist, Taylor Klaus. All right, without further ado, I'm going to climb under the table.
and today we will convince you that despite the negatives, digital media is net beneficial to society. I will start by speaking about the positive effects digital media has on organization and our relationships, as well as our economy. Zach will discuss health and quality of life. We all live busy, hectic lives, and technology is here to help us make the most of our time. Through media and technology, working parents can manage their job responsibilities and in return engage in valuable quality time with their families. Authors of the book Networked claim, from 1965 through 2005, the amount of time men have been able to spend in the household has more than doubled from 4.4 hours to 9.8. Through the use of media tools such as the internet, mobile devices, email, and apps, families are able to coordinate carpools, extracurricular activities, dinner plans without majorly disrupting the workday. Those who can control their schedules do best dealing with the often competing demands of home and work. For example, where once a work crisis would require someone to get up in the middle of the night and drive to the office, today fires can be contained from home, with parents left to eat breakfast with their kids in the morning. Work and family life balance is important, very important, but so is the organization of our lives outside of work. Personally, I'm a divorced mom of 2 kids. My family greatly benefits from digital media to coordinate our lives. Not only do my kids have 4 parents who all work, but the kids are involved in numerous activities, from Cub Scouts to ballet and tap to baseball and everything in between. My ex-husband and fiance are also in the Army Reserves. We are able to maintain one combined calendar using Google to track all of our activities. We can even add school field trips, holidays, and assemblies to the calendar, and all of us have that information readily available. This information is backed up on the internet as well as on our smartphones. Furthermore, my ex-husband has deployed to both Iraq and Afghanistan for 2 years total since the birth of my son. Despite dodgy connectivity and the need to maintain operational security regarding military activity, my children benefited from the ability to Skype with their father and to even send him text messages about important events in their lives. An article in the Journal of Contemporary Social Services cites a communication study about service members and family reintegration after deployment. It states, increased communication with family increases the morale of service members during separation. Similarly, families of both male and female service members were reassured by consistent contact with the service member during deployment. With digital media, no longer are soldiers forced to wait weeks for a letter from home containing old information. Today, soldiers can stay connected to their families and thus have less stress during their return to their families and jobs. This brings me to my point about the economy. Digital media and technology networks us to others who share our passions, and this ultimately bolsters our economy. In fact, it's easier than ever to create, innovate, and collaborate with others. In Makers, Chris Anderson, editor-in-chief of Wired magazine, says, "It used to be hard to be an entrepreneur. The great inventors and businessmen of the first industrial revolution were not just we're not just smart, but privileged. Today, any kid with an idea and a laptop can create the seeds of a world-changing company. A few examples of this are people like Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Page, and Sergey Brin, the creator of Facebook and the 2 founders of Google. Each of these men had a specific vision of an online website they wanted to create where either information or connectivity would be achieved. Both Google and Facebook became an instant and enduring success, and their success has economically helped thousands if not millions of people. A 2010 Time magazine article estimated that Google alone employs 24,000 individuals and Facebook roughly 3,000. On top of that, the business's use of Facebook has created over 450,000 new jobs not available before the advent of these sites. As you can see, major internet businesses fuel our economy and create jobs. A 2013 article from GeekWire.com estimates that Amazon.com's workforce to be roughly 110,000 people, with nearly 2,500 of those employees located at the distribution center here in Hebron, Kentucky. That's a lot of economic stimulus for the greater Cincinnati area. The creators of new technology are not the only ones to benefit, though. Our economy is bolstered by our ability to share and connect with others. The author of Cognitive Surplus speaks of the challenges of creating before digital technology. In those days, anyone could produce a photograph, a poem, or a song, but they had no way to make it widely available. Because they lacked the ability to easily connect with others and share their creations, the motivation to create was subdued. This is no longer an issue today. Bella Weems, a 14-year-old from Arizona, is a perfect example. All she wanted was to buy a used car when she turned 16, but she didn't have the financial means to make it happen. She had an idea to create a company where people could get together and design jewelry in the comfort of their homes. She found supporters online who helped her create an internet business called Origami Owl. A 2013 Forbes article detailing her business success says, Origami Owl, which was founded in 2010 at age 14, generated $24 million in revenue in 2012, and this year expects to reach $250 million. My friend Trisha, a military spouse and mother of 4 who lives in Illinois, is an Origami Owl consultant. I bought these earrings from her from the comfort of my home, and they arrived roughly 1 week later. Origami Owl gives homemakers like Trisha a means to put their business savvy and entrepreneurial skills into action and bring home extra income for their families. As you can see, digital media and technology impact our lives in a myriad of ways. Thank you.
Okay, so you mentioned along the lines that digital media benefits friends and family, correct?
Yes.
All right. So let's say your fiance is overseas and you posted something on Facebook and he read it the wrong way. That's miscommunication, correct?
Well, yes, if he read it the wrong way, but we have a good enough relationship that if I wanted to tell him something specifically, I would probably just send him an instant message on Facebook, or I would email him,
Okay.
or we could even talk via telephone communications, which they have available in the
Okay.
country.
And in regards to digital media and children, you know, digital media can distract a lot of us. So when parents are distracted by TV, they are interacting 20% less with their kids. Don't you think that in this case, digital media has a negative impact on family relationships if parents are not paying attention to their children as much?
Well, certainly. I mean, just like if I went to a playground and let my child run wild while, I don't know, talking to a random mother and didn't pay attention to them, by not observing my children or staying connected to them, it could definitely be, not beneficial to them. But I would always, try to engage with my children, as I would hope other parents would.
Okay, and in regards to the economy, I believe that when you use digital media, it is only benefiting the makers. So Chris Anderson has financial motivation for promoting and manufacturing technology because his own manufacturing company. Leigh Buchanan is a writer of Inc.com, and he speaks about how Anderson is a true believer in why wouldn't he be, because 3D robotics, he has his own manufacturing startup and he tracks to do $5 million this year.
Now we have first negative constructive Chelsea Wood.
My debate team and I will be describing to you why digital media is net unbeneficial to society. Our topics include the effect on our brain and our intelligence, the disconnect it creates between humans resulting in inhuman connections with technology, and the ever-present effect of cyberbullying. During the 20th century, it was discovered that inside our skulls are some 100 billion neurons, which take many different shapes and range in length from tenths of millimeters to feet. The average neuron makes about 1,000 synaptic connections, and some neurons can make even 100 times that number. The millions of billions of synapses inside our skulls tie our neurons together in a dense mesh of circuits that, in ways that are still far from understood, give rise to what we think, how we feel, and who we are. Now imagine if that beautiful complexity that is our lifeline is being withered away as a result of digital media. Now to formally introduce why I believe digital media is unbeneficial for society, digital media is significantly impacting our intelligence levels by altering our reading capabilities and diminishing our memory patterns. Centuries following the invention of the written word, humans mastered the art of reading. To read a long book silently required an ability to concentrate over a long period of time. Developing such a mental discipline was not easy. As digital media progresses, we are losing that skill. The natural state of the human brain is one of distractedness. Our predisposition is to shift our gaze and hence our attention from one object to another. Be aware of as much of what's going on around us as possible. What draws our attention most of all is any hint of change in our surroundings. The neuroplasticity of our brain allows us to constantly expand and learn new information and habits. However, for our brain to lose a skill it works so hard to gain is a nearly impossible task. Yet, digital media has been so ingrained in our brains that it's slowly changing the state of our neurons and synapses. As the time we spend scanning web pages crowds out the time we spend reading books, as the time we spend exchanging bite-sized text messages crowds out the time we spend composing sentences and paragraphs, the circuits that support those old intellectual functions and pursuits weaken and begin to break apart. Nicholas Carr emphasizes that our neural loops don't snap back to their former state the way a rubber band does. They hold on to their change state, and nothing says the new state has to be a desirable one. Bad habits can be engraved in our neurons as easily as good ones. Ultimately, the brain is built to be expanded upon, not to hold information for deletion. The empowering discipline humanity had to train our brains to read at length is being written over by the constant distractedness digital media brings to our lives. A quote from Carr that I've heard many times in my communication career at UC in reference to his reading habits states, "Once I was a scuba diver in the sea of words, now I zip along the surface like a guy in a jet ski." Not only are our reading capabilities affected, but as a result of digital media, our memories are beginning to function like a web search, storing only short-term information. Why memorize the content of a single book when you could be using your brain to hold a quick guide to an entire library? Rather than memorize information, we now store it digitally and just remember what we had stored. As the web teaches us to think like it does, we'll end up spending little, As the web teaches us to think like it does, we'll end up storing little deep knowledge in our own heads. Now that we can look up anything with a click on Google, memorizing passages or historical facts becomes obsolete. Because of digital media, many people believe memorization has become a waste of time. This can have vast consequences on our education, future healthcare systems, leadership capabilities, and even the economy in the long run. Clive Thompson, the Wired writer, states, "I've almost given up an effort to remember anything because I can instantly retrieve the information online. I had thought that the magic of the information age was that it allowed us to know more. But then I realized the magic of the information age is it allows us to know less. It provides us with external cognitive servants, silicon memory systems, collaborative online filters, consumer preference algorithms, and network knowledge. We can burden these servants and liberate ourselves. Our dependence on the amenities of technology and the internet has even been correlated with the decreases in test scores in critical thinking. According to Gardner and Davis of the App Generation, the Torrance test of creative thinking, developed in 1996, is used to test creative thinking. From 1998 to 2008, scores dropped dramatically, especially in the areas of elaboration and the ability to gather and organize ideas. In addition, as technology has played a bigger role in our lives, our skills in critical thinking and analysis have declined, according to Patricia Greenfield, UCLA Distinguished Professor of Psychology. In conclusion, digital media has infiltrated the single most valuable entity to any human being, our brains, affecting our reading skills and memory capabilities. It changes our lifestyles so completely that we are disconnecting from those around us. To introduce our next argument, a study from UCLA shows that when the brain spends more time on technology-related tasks and less time exposed to other people, it drifts away from fundamental social skills like reading facial expressions during conversation. Thus, brain circuits involved in face-to-face contact become weaker.
Hi, I'm Patricia once again. So, as you mentioned, you said creating the reading practice was not easy and it took a very long time. But we are just in the infancy of the new digital media age, and we've already had our brains adapt to the way we use technology in a way that provides better lives. So would you say that our brain synapses are increasing and even bettering?
No, I would say that we're overriding the immense amount of effort it took to create the concentration and be able to read lengthy information, lengthy texts, and the whole concept of language and reading. And our digital media is constantly distracting us, and it's like overriding what we
And
learn.
you also mentioned that in lieu of the digital media, we are giving up previous passages and historical knowledge, and just looking that up online, not storing it in our memory. But what I have is, what are we giving up specifically that you believe is vital to contain in our memory? I don't believe that historical facts are something we need to know right on the spot that's going to change our lives in a significant way.
I mean,
Can
if
you
you don't,
say what we're really giving up?
I mean, if you don't know history, and history repeats itself, which is a huge known problem across the world, so definitely you need to
And
know
so
history.
thank you.
Second affirmative constructive, Zach Romer.
Health is the single most important thing in our lives. Think back to the last time you were sick. Were you happy? Were you bouncing off the walls? I know when I'm sick, I feel like the whole world around me is going, and I'm stuck in my bed. I always dread waiting all day for the doctor and then paying him a ton of money just to tell me to get some rest, or for him to give a simple diagnosis that was pretty obvious. Does that bother you? Because it bothers me. Hi, I'm Zach, and I'm going to talk about how media and technology vastly improve health and quality of life, and how these are two of the most important reasons why media and technology are net beneficial in our daily lives. First, I'm going to talk about how it is easier than ever to find out what could be wrong with you. In the novel Network by Rainey and Lohman, they discuss how the internet growing will only benefit health. They say medical information is at the stroke of a key to help inform you, and with modern advances, you can find my charts and contact your doctor much quicker than years ago. The first part of this quote, I believe, is the most important. Again, it says that medical information is at the stroke of a key to help inform you. This does not say that you should go to a random website and if you match the symptoms, do some crazy remedy. What it is saying is that you can cross-reference several different websites, and if your symptoms match, you can figure it out from there. I actually did this about a month ago. I woke up really sick on a Sunday morning with flu-like symptoms, and I was coughing a ton, and I just felt really sick. And it was a Sunday, so I couldn't go to the doctor. So I decided to lay in bed until Monday, and later that night, all of a sudden, I went to the bathroom and I threw up, and it was a horrific yellow liquid, and I knew that this yellow liquid had to do with your liver, and it scared the heck out of me. So after I calmed myself down, I checked the internet and cross-referenced 5 different websites, and found out that the problem was not even as close to as bad as I had suspected. Essentially, I had thrown up bile, which is just stomach acid. I hadn't eaten or drank anything all day, so it made plenty of sense. And it just made total sense to me. And the impact of this, of not going to the doctors, it saved me a ton of trouble and money, because I would have probably gone to the emergency room thinking I had liver problems. This 5 minutes of research saved me at least $500 in a horrific trip to the emergency room. Would you be happier with an extra $500 in your pocket right now? My second main reason why I believe media and technology benefits our health is that all of these new innovations coming out are going to benefit us to live longer and healthier lives. Schmidt and Cohen support this claim by saying, soon you will be benefiting from a slew of physical augmentations designed to monitor your well-being, such as microscopic robots in your circulatory system that can keep track of your blood pressure, detect heart disease, and even early-stage cancer. What is the #1 killer in the United States? If you answered heart disease, you're correct. Over 600,000 people die of heart disease a year. That's 1 in 4 deaths. Raise your hand if you know someone who has died or has had heart disease. Now imagine being able to prevent that. That is what these new innovations in technology are allowing us to do. My final point that I'm going to discuss is that media and technology improves our quality of life. I remember as a child I was bullied pretty heavily. I didn't have a ton of friends and life got lonely at times. During these dark days, I would go home and jump on my dad's computer to escape from all of the negative things going on at school. I was jumping into a world to connect with people that had the same interests as me. After I started doing this, I didn't feel as alone anymore. Overall, this greatly improved my quality of life at the time. And in tying back to my health argument, Clay Shirky, writer of the novel Cognitive Surplus, discusses a website called patientslikeme.com. He says that it's a site that, true to its name, allows patients with similar chronic health conditions to share information and offer support. This support is something that these patients might need just to get through their day. I know that for me, I have a chronic heart problem, and it's very hard to deal with it, to be honest, because I don't live the athletic lifestyle I used to. The American Heart Association website lists support groups for people with my condition. And it's really awesome to know that you have someone who you can talk to if need be, that would understand. Lastly, I believe that media and technology benefits the quality of life for terminally ill people. These people are people that might not be able to leave their bed or do anything. This media and technology keeps these people connected and gives them something to do besides sleep all day. Also, these people might not feel as alone when connected, which decreases their chances of depression and overall improves their life. I'm going to end on a quote from Buddha. He said, "To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our minds strong and clear."
All right, Zach, you said that digital media can potentially prevent heart disease from happening now.
Eventually.
Yeah, but exactly
It
how will that
can
happen?
detect it.
How exactly will that go about? How will somebody go about purchasing the whatever device they need to do that? What are the logistics of it? Tell me.
I mean, obviously it's not somewhere. I know when researching this, they have actually found like a thing that could actually make your heart beat like for forever, and the same. It could make your heart beat well for forever, but I don't know if that has.
You don't know about how much that would cost the average person who would need it. Say they don't have a lot of economic resources. You don't know how doctors would go about administering it.
I mean, these are near future technologies.
But they will help us. You're purporting that they will help us.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, second negative constructive semantic reason.
are that we are becoming more connected with technology and less connected in our interpersonal relationships and cyberbullying. So now I admit that technology allows us to connect with anyone in the world wherever we want. However, the question is, are we really more connected to each other or more alone, since face-to-face human interaction decreases the more technology increases? Maybe we have become too connected to see just how disconnected we had become. The book, The Big Disconnect, written by psychologist Catherine Steiner Adar, explains that everyday life is undergoing a massive transformation. She writes, while parents and children enjoying swift and constant access to everything and everyone on the internet, they are simultaneously struggling to maintain a personal connection with each and everyone in their own homes. Parents who used to talk with their kids in the car now find it almost impossible to be as interesting as the handheld screen or game in their hand. And when parents want to know more about their child's life, they are sometimes less likely to just ask and more likely to monitor the child's Facebook page. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation study, young people ages 8 to 18 now spend nearly 7.5 hours of media usage a day. Psychologist Sherry Turkle explains that not only the kids being distracted by technology, but the parents also. Turkle says in her 15 years interviewing hundreds of adults and teens, it's surprising how often it is the young people who complain about their parents' obsession with these devices. They complain about parents picking them up at school and not making eye contact with them until they finish the last email. And she says parents attending sports events often miss their child's important play because they are too busy on their mobile devices. Turkle adds that many young people feel they have to compete for their parents' attention. The digital divide argues that technology is also taking away our solitude. We may enjoy online relationships using social media sites like Facebook or Twitter, for example, but the difference between these kinds of interactions and the interactions with people in the physical world is clearly vast. The problem with these interactions comes when we find ourselves subtly substituting electronic relationships for physical ones, or mistaking electronic relationships for physical ones. We may feel we're connecting effectively with others via the internet, but too much could ultimately lead to a sense of social isolation. I recognize that we are the ones making these decisions to use technology so much. However, you cannot deny that technology has provided this constant pressure to be connected all of the time and has almost become an addiction to some. The second point that I would like to talk about is cyberbullying. Megan Meyer was a 13-year-old girl who experienced cyberbullying firsthand. Her story started when she began connecting with a boy she thought was Josh Evans. Her mother monitored all of her conversations. Josh began sending her cruel messages on October 15, 2006. He also posted bulletins about her, which led to other kids joining in and making fun of Megan also. The cyber exchange devastated Megan, who was unable to understand why people would try to hurt her like that. Tina Meyer discovered her daughter's body on October 16th. And what made this case even worse was that Josh Evans turned out to be the mother of one of Megan's classmates. In this case, cyberbullying was a factor in the teen's suicide. Cyberbullying happens every day. Even though the outcome is not always as serious as this one, we should not take it lightly because it can contribute to depression, stress, and violence. In the book, You Are Not a Gadget, the author explains the term troll, which is an anonymous person who is abusive in an online environment. The author says that it is all too common these days that we encounter online bullying in our daily lives, and that we hear stories on the news when online bullying or trolling leads to a person's suicide. Though bullying still occurs in the traditional form of face-to-face, cyberbullying is becoming more common as youth have more access to internet, cameras, text messages via cell phones. According to the Pew Internet Research Project, 95% of all teenagers 12 to 17 are now online. And 80% of those online teens are social media users. And of those 88% of social media using teens have witnessed other people being mean or cruel on social media sites. Digital media provides avenues for kids, teens, and adults to say whatever they would like behind the buttons of the keyboard with little consequence. Calling people names online may not feel like a big deal when you are the one doing it, but you never know how damaging it could be to someone else. So in conclusion, the disconnect from our loved ones and the connection we are making to these machines and cyberbullying are negative effects linked to technology.
Okay. cyberbullying. Do you have proof that bullying has increased overall with the introduction of the internet? Any statistical proof that it's increased with the introduction of the internet?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is it possible that maybe it's just a little bit publicized more now because we have written bullying via text message or instant message or Facebook posts?
It could be, but I believe that all these platforms that we have, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, it allows platforms for people to make fun or cyberbully easier than.
Okay. Yeah, I heard you reference the Pew Research. I also have some stats from that. My stats actually state that 67% of teens feel that bullying happens more offline than online. Do you have any stats that would refute that?
Maybe. It just said that 88% of social media using teens have witnessed other people being mean or cruel on social networking sites.
Okay. Also from the Pew Research Center, I had over half of teens who have reported being cyberbullied. They believe that the bullying happens more offline, as I stated before. 90% of them actually don't report it. So how do you go about this stuff?
Our first negative rebuttal is Brittany. Oh yeah.
This is John Brandon.
For the audience, they're taking a few minutes to gather their thoughts here. Back.
Oh crap. Sorry. You just